Emily is so back, you guys. Hey, brother. Oh man, you guys, the final trailer for Toy Story 5 has dropped, and it has got us hyped because it looks very much like the original Pixar tearjerker herself, Emily, who abandoned Jessie on the side of the road way back in Toy Story 2, is poised to re-enter the chat. And this is big because while Emily herself is hardly on screen and we barely even see her face, her legacy looms large over the entire Pixar landscape and Jessie's past. Because while Toy Story 1 and A Bug's Life were great, neither exactly sent you out of the room, sobbing. I mean, Buzz realizing he can't fly, that was sad for sure, but like, I don't know if I cried.
But it's a rock.
It is a rock. It's more than a rock. It's a metaphor, Dot. But it wasn't really until Toy Story 2 when Jessie's song showed up and changed the course of Pixar forever, opening the tear duct-shaped floodgates on faces across America as movie after movie after movie punched us all in our emotional guts.
Oh, remember the funny movie where the dog dies?
Despite that, however, Emily's worst victim by far is Jessie, who she left with traumatic abandonment issues and caused her to be stored in a closed dark box for years on end, creating an entire second phobia of closed spaces. And while Jessie actually had an entire short dedicated to overcoming her claustrophobia, I'm not sure she ever really got true closure on Emily. Because when we first meet her, she wants to go live in the museum, specifically so she can never be abandoned again, but she ends up trusting Woody enough to go to Andy's, where she is welcomed and played with all over. But when he has to go to college...
I should have seen this coming. It's Emily all over again.
Fortunately, she gets passed on to Bonnie next, but the trauma is still there. She just keeps putting on a new Band-Aid. But now, after sitting in the back seat, quite literally in Toy Story 4, her time to shine is here, where I dare say Jessie may just get the closure she and we have been looking for. But it's not just Jessie and audiences, it's also us. Personally, because if Emily is indeed back, then it means we are likely going to get closure on one of the longest standing theories on this channel, which is Emily Andy's mom? Hey, brother! Man, Toy Story 5 just keeps looking better and better. I wasn't super sold when they first announced Toy Story 4, but you know what? If we're doing this, we may as well do it right. Right?
Okay, so we're doing this.
And if that means we're going to dive into some deeper Toy Story lore, I am all for it. And right away, even just in the trailer, you can tell this movie is paying homage to its own past. For example, right here, when Buzz and Woody are talking, you can see Bonnie's chalkboard in the background with some very familiar looking clouds from Andy's old bedroom drawn on them. The Pizza Planet truck is right out in the open at the end here, and that's one Easter egg we no longer have to hunt down. Hooray. Oh, I guess if it's a Toy Story movie, it's not really an Easter egg. It's just plot relevance.
Oh, I seriously doubt he's getting this kind of mileage.
Then Woody has a bald spot here, which is supposed to make him look like he's just getting really old, and he is, but it is also another callback to Toy Story 2, where you can actually see he had this exact spot repaired by Jerry the Chess Man and toy repair hobbyist, or maybe professional toy repair guy, because maybe he also owned the antique shop back in Toy Story 4. And then they even went as far to recreate this scene from Toy Story 1.
Buzz, look, an alien! Where?
Oh, hey, Buzz, what is that? What?
Good old-fashioned male power dynamics, right? Especially when neither of them is the leader anymore. An honor that now goes to Jessie.
You know Bonnie better than anyone.
But nods to the other movies aside, there is one reference that really stood out to me because it is kind of groundbreaking, and it happens right here.
Oh, come on!
She's getting away, Buzz!
Enjoy the garage stuff, Bill.
Jessie is climbing on the bed. Sound familiar? And confronting the lily pad tablet for having the audacity to call her Jessica.
Not touching, Jessica.
Oh, no.
when suddenly she flashes this image on her screen, and it's a listing for a website called eBid where a Jessie doll has been listed for auction. eBid, though? Like, how did Pixar's parent company Disney lose the rights to...
Come on, let's see how much we're going for on eBay.
Is beyond me, but sure. eBid on. Now, at first glance, you may just assume this is a threat by Lilypad, as if she is going to create this listing and sell Jessie, or maybe that this is another Jessie doll somewhere out there that has been listed. But no, this is in fact our own Jessie, who was in fact listed on eBid in the Toy Story short, Toy Story of Terror. And the screen Lilypad is showing is the exact listing from the short. And this is just mind-blowing to me, because to me, the shorts have always existed in a bit of a vacuum. Like, yes, they're canon, but never are you required to have seen them to understand something in the movies. But now, suddenly, this feels extremely plot relevant. So as a quick recap, in case you haven't seen Toy Story of Terror, it follows Bonnie and the toys to a motel where they have to stay the night until Bonnie's mom can get a flat tire fixed. And while the humans sleep, of course, the toys get up to wander around and look for, amenities?
We're at a motel. I just want to check out the amenities. You know, the free stuff. Little soaps, shower caps, shampoo, conditioner.
What on earth does Potato Head need conditioner for? What could it be? Are we to assume that Potato Head is using real human conditioner in his mustache? We all gotta take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Shopify. You know how they say, fake it till you make it, or become a parent and realize your parents were flying by the seat of their own pants and kind of just figuring it out as they went? Well, sometimes that's how it is here at SuperCarlinBrothers as well. Like, we make lots of stuff. Videos, podcasts, merch, tours, and so on. But whenever we launch something new, rest assured, we're sweating bullets. Like, I can't stress it enough. We don't always know what we're doing. And that is where having a partner like Shopify is clutch. Because if you're doing something new, you want a tour guide to show you around. And that's exactly the kind of support Shopify offers. And whether that's making setting up your first online store approachable using their pre-built templates, providing reports on sales like helping understand what's selling and what isn't, or tools that enhance product photography, Shopify is there to help. And like, even if you find yourself stuck, not to worry, because Shopify has 24/7 award-winning customer support to pull you out of a rut and just get you back on track. So if you're thinking about starting something new, turn those what ifs into with Shopify today. Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/SCB. Again, that is shopify.com/SCB. One more time, just for safety, shopify.com/SCB. But before the toys get very far, they quickly get abducted by a monster in the shadows, which turns out to be an iguana, Mr. Jones, who has been trained by the motel manager, Ron, aka Iguana Lover 75, to steal toys from guests so he can sell them illegally on eBid. So maybe they just didn't have the eBay rights back then, so they can't use it now because of continuity. Continuity!
And beyond!
We love us some continuity. Anyway, you can even see Ron take the photo in question and make the listing for Jessie that now Lilypad is using in Toy Story 5. It's wild, right? Although not as wild as the guy who actually buys both Woody and Jessie on eBid from Ron before all the toys escape. It is a blink and you miss it moment, but the label reads as being shipped to none other than Al from Al's Toy Barn.
It's like printing my own money.
The lore runs deep, you guys. And it's about to get deeper because next we see Lilypad show a different picture that clearly she has taken of both Jessie and Bullseye, with the caption reading, "Found your toys," and she tags a user named Horse Girl, that's GRRLL, and is about to send them to someone. The question is, are they being sent from Horse Girl to Horse Girl to Iguana Lover 75? Is Lilypad telling Ron she found Jessie and is gonna mail her back to him?
Told you not to leave the keys in the car.
I mean, I guess we can't rule that out, but I don't think so. The main thing here is that because the photos say, found your toys, we can absolutely conclude that someone is looking for their own lost Jessie doll, or perhaps this exact Jessie doll. Although there's only one other person we know to have owned a separate Jessie doll, and that was Boo. And can you imagine if that's who's looking for Jessie? Oh my god! We can only dream. We can only dream. Probably not Boo. But either way, I don't think Horse Girl is Bonnie either, because for one, look at Bonnie's room. It's just not covered in anything horsey. At least not in the way you'd expect someone whose name is Horse Girl to be, even if her favorite toy is a cowgirl. Instead, Bonnie's room is covered all over the place with arts and crafts and drawing supplies, because Bonnie loves to create stuff as much as she loves creating stories with her toys. She has even made a new character for us in this movie, Knifey the Wifey.
Donut. No, sweetie. Donated.
I think that's an important distinction that's going to come up later, but in the meantime, we also know Jessie is going to end up in this room, which is not Bonnie's room, but perhaps belongs to the real horse girl, as this room is covered in almost nothing but horses. But rather than being Emily's room, I think we might be looking at Emily's daughter's room right here, who, like her mother, has grown up with a love of horses. Because based on this scene in the trailer with the tire swing, it looks like we might even make it back to Emily's old stomping grounds with Jessie by the famous Pixar tree, which is also featured in Up and A Bug's Life. Plus, we also see Jessie riding a real horse and leading a cavalry of Buzz Lightyear riding toy horses, which are just like the ones we see on Emily's old dresser back in Toy Story 2. Also, riding a real horse, what are they going to make her into a Disney princess now?
Hey, she back me, Lassie! Uh-huh. What did she just say?
We don't know. We can't understand her.
She's from the other studio.
So, here's how I think it's all connected. First, Emily donates Jessie as she, grows out of horses and such and becomes a teenager. Typical. But as she ages into adulthood, she rediscovers her love of all things horses.
Nostalgia. You aren't supposed to be here yet. You still have about 10 years, 2 graduations, and a best friend's wedding before you're invited, but I will keep you in the loop, I promise.
Then she has a daughter who, like her, also loves horses and cowgirls and all that stuff, and Emily remembers the old Jessie doll she had and wishes she had not donated it, but kept it for her own kid. So she goes on a hunt. She figures, hey, I donated it locally. Maybe if I put up a post online, whoever ended up with it will see it and I can track it back down. Which actually feels plausible, since Al likely just got Jessie from the donation location, and he lives like a toy's walk away from Andy, who lives a short drive from Bonnie, so none of this is actually very geographically far apart.
This town ain't big enough.
So Emily turns to the internet, where she comes across the now defunct eBid listing of the Jessie doll she is looking for, and then uses that image to post about what she's looking for. Then LilyPad the tablet connects these dots, takes her own picture of Jessie and Bullseye, and sends them to Horse Girl, who in fact does end up with Jessie, which to her surprise is her old owner, Emily. And at first, everything is great, and Jessie spends the day in the sun reliving moments from her past. But at the end of the day, Bonnie needs her, or, at least she needs to protect Bonnie from whatever LilyPad is planning. Which, by the way, I feel like by the end of the movie, LilyPad will turn out to not be so bad, and the toys will work with her to help Bonnie make things like movies, of her toys on her tablet, which then bridges the gap between toys and technology and creating. Because after all, you feel like Pixar has to be, kind of careful about telling kids not to use screen when their products, movies, are specifically screen-based.
Don't bother watching the rest.
Right? But what does it all have to do with Andy's mom? I hear you guys shouting loudly from your keyboards. Well, glad you asked, because this is one of the oldest and best Toy Story theories out there, and it goes like this. In Toy Story, you can see Andy wearing a red cowboy hat that does not match Woody's, but does happen to match Jessie's come Toy Story 2. Minus, of course, the white band around the brim. But wait! There is a faded stripe around the brim where maybe the ribbon initially went. Could Andy have gotten the hat from his mom? And what's this? Emily has the same red hat? Well, my goodness, things are coming together. Plus, in a weird turn of events, we never learn Andy's mom's name. She's always just Mrs. Davis. And speaking of names, at the end of Toy Story 2, when Andy first finds Jessie, he calls her
Bazooka Jane and her jet-propelled horse.
And yet, by Toy Story 3, he knows her real name.
This is Jessie, the roughest, toughest cowgirl in the whole West.
So the question is, how? Unless Andy's mom walks in and is like, oh, a Jessie doll. I used to have one of these. Now, of course, the problem is that you'd assume, if all of this was the case, that Jessie would just immediately recognize Emily as an adult, and we just, know all this was true. Unless, perhaps, she repressed it so hard that she doesn't remember, or Andy's mom just looks that much different as an adult. Now, personally, I'm actually leaning towards Emily is not Andy's mom here, but just for the sake of trying to make it work, let's break it down. So, the only other owners Jessie has had are Al and the Davis family. So let's look at Al. I mean, we know he does consider Jessie missing and does try to buy her back in Toy Story of Terror, and that would account for the photo that Lilypad takes, including Bullseye and Jessie, but you'd think then she'd include Woody too, right? Because he's like the big missing piece of the collection.
If only you had your hand-stitched polyvinyl hat! I found him! I found him!
But if it is the Davis family looking for her, then good news! Andy's mom also has a daughter, Molly, who perhaps in her teens has gotten really into horses.
Come on, Molly. Oh, you're getting heavy.
I mean, after all, Andy is her older brother, and the decor of her childhood home looked like this. Plus, last Andy's mom knew of Jessie's whereabouts, she was donating her to Sunnyside. She doesn't actually know Andy gave his toys to Bonnie at the end. That was Woody's idea. So, if Andy's mom was looking for Jessie for Molly, she could certainly go check Sunnyside, but then come up short and have to resort to the same online searches we discussed earlier. Now, again, I don't think that's super likely, and Emily's probably just her own character, but if they are going as far as roping in random plot elements from the shorts, then maybe they are going for a big, cohesive, all-encompassing ending here that reunites everyone, including the Davis family at the end. Because for us here at SCB, Woody and Andy's eventual reunion has always been the endgame. I guess we just don't know if this is in fact the end of all the Toy Story movies. Like, you can just imagine Andy raising his own kid and he's having a hard time and the kid's upset, and in the distance you just hear the "You're my favorite deputy" fade to black. I'm already crying.
I'm sorry, ma'am. I know you're upset.
But hey, speaking of toys, if you got some rubber ducks, just, you should remember, if you're thinking about where should I put those things, where should I store them, ducks go in cups.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. The duck quacks in the night.
In the meantime, if you want to find out how it's possible that a former Woody-owning child ended up marrying a former Jessie-owning child who ended up having a child that owns both Woody and Jessie, you can check out this video right here. Toy Story 0. One of my favorites.